Hello, everyone. Eric Olsen from Helps YouTube Live. Happy to have you here today, July 24th, 2025. If you can hear me, let me know on the chat. It's always nice to know that viewers can listen to me. We may end up a little short today, may go for 40 minutes. So if you have questions, get them in earlier. Okay. Thank you for all your support. My name's Eric. I'm 74, been an attorney for 46 years, the founder of Helps. Helps is a national law firm. We help people in all 50 states. And what we do is our main mission is to protect seniors and disabled persons from debt collector harassment. And we do that under a federal law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Provides if you're represented by an attorney, debt collectors can no longer call you or send you demand letters anymore. So that's what we do. When people find out about Helps, they call us, we ask them questions, we go over their situation. If they want our help, we can roll them. We can do it immediately over the phone. And then you're going to give us the creditors or collectors you owe money to. We're going to send out a cease and desist letter, and they're going to leave you alone. Okay? So peace is going to come back to your life. Okay? That's what we do. And our second mission is to educate seniors how they can maintain their financial independence. And that's one reason we have these YouTube live videos. Close to half of seniors have incomes within 200% of the poverty line. Okay. And that's, over 40 million seniors in the United States. And many of them owe debt and they simply can't afford it to pay it. Okay. And one of the things I want to talk about at first is the sad amount of misinformation or lack of information about how your income is protected. If you're a senior, how your income is protected on the internet. The information you're going to hear me talk about or on our Helps YouTube channel is something you may have not heard before. And the fact is that your Social Security is protected, your pension is protected, your 401k is protected, your IRA is protected, your veteran benefits are protected. And there's even a law that was passed in 2012 that tells banks if they got rid of garnishment, if someone happened to sue you and got a judgment, they tried to garnish your bank account, your bank will automatically protect your bank account up to the amount equal to twice the amount of federal benefits such as Social Security you get each month from garnishment, regardless if there's other monies in your account at the time of garnishment. And most seniors I talk to, they say, well, Eric, I never have more than twice the amount of my Social Security in my account at any one time. I say you have nothing to worry about. Now, if you happen to have more than that in there, it's still protected. You can file a challenge to garnishment or claim an exemption. When that happens, we help our clients do that, but it doesn't happen very often. So good to have you here. So make a change asks, can you please talk about land trust and if it protects the owner and heirs from medical and other institutions from coming after your property? Well, not necessarily. There's all kinds of different trusts. Probably one of the most common type of trust that attorneys sell is like a revocable living trust. Okay. Now, when it means revocable, that means it can be changed at any time. Okay. It can be revoked. And usually you're the one that's in control of the trust. So it is possible with a revocable living trust for a judgment to become a lien on the property. And if you die, then your heirs would have to pay any debt associated with the trust or any debt. In fact, a lot of times that trust says that before the trustee distributes the money from the revocable trust to your heirs, your debt needs to be paid. Okay. Now, there's ways to prevent that. Get an irrevocable trust. You could get, can't be revoked. Someone else has control of the money. Or you could get, sometimes people add other people's names to the title of their homes. They might own it jointly with their children. With survivorship rights, that means when the person passes away, there's no probate. The property, the land at least automatically goes to the kids and no debt needs to be paid. And even if there was a judgment after the kids were added to the title of the home, that judgment lien disappears. Okay, so we talk about that in different videos on helps. We have videos on our YouTube page that talk about that, and you can also call and ask questions. So welcome to our YouTube live today. Once again, if you have any questions, let me know. I may need to end a little bit early today. I notice my picture is smoky a little bit, and I don't know why. Maybe because my computer was getting dirty and I washed it with some soap, and maybe it's cleaner now. Okay. I'm looking at the bottom half and my chin looks a little bit cleaner. So maybe when I did this, I got rid of that smoky sound, that smoky thing that you were seeing. Okay. Okay. So, I'm going to talk, oh my, I may get delayed here, but before I do that, I'm going to, I talked to a guy yesterday, and what he did is he emailed me, he emailed us, and I read this, and he says, we talked earlier today about me joining Helps. I just wanted to get all my direct deposit information straight with the new bank. And he says, Chase, and he asked if they're good. I just wanted your opinion, and you did say all my income is protected. Social Security, pension, VA benefits. And as soon as the paperwork is done, I will call you to join. Can I stop paying now? And I don't want to file bankruptcy. Thanks for your help, Paul. And then he says, the only thing I own right now is my car. But your paralegal had it wrong. It's not worth $27,000. It's worth $20,000. And, or maybe in the high teens. To any event, I can't lose my car. I'm disabled. Hope you can help me, Paul. Okay. So, I like that little email because it sums a lot of things with helps. Okay. First off, the reason he was changing to a different bank account was probably because he owed money to his old bank, or it was a credit union. Normally you can keep the same bank if you owe money to the bank and you choose not to pay the bank. It'd be different with a credit union. When you signed up with a credit union, you signed up and you gave them authority to take money out of your account if you owed them money on a debt you owed them. So, but banks don't require that except for Truist Bank. But for whatever reason, he wanted to change banks, and it really doesn't matter what bank you go to. Okay. It would probably be a bank where you don't owe any money, or a credit union where you don't owe any money, but you can go to any bank you want to. Are they good? They're all good. Okay. And a lot of times people like me to hear, like to hear it again, but your Social Security, your pension, your disability, your VA benefit, your all forms of retirement, yes, they are protected by federal and state laws. It can't be taken from you. And then he says, as soon as the paperwork is done, I can call to join you. So, when people enroll in Helps, maybe 1 out of 6 or 7 get our help for free. Those that pay a very little amount. And usually we need a debit card, and the payment won't begin until 30 or 60 days in the future. But if you're changing to an account or you don't have a debit card, we can still enroll you, and then you just give us the debit card information later. You don't have to wait till you get the debit card to enroll. So yeah, if you're planning on joining Helps, or you're just investigating and you're paying a bunch of debt, you can stop paying it now while you're making this decision. Sure. If you're enrolled with a debt management company or debt settlement company, first thing I'd ask you, did they tell you that your income was protected when you signed up with them? Probably not. They normally don't do that. Why don't they do that? If they told you that, you wouldn't have enrolled with them and they wouldn't be making money off you. So There's a few exceptions, but by and large, debt settlement or even nonprofit debt management companies are very lax about telling seniors that their income is protected. Okay. And then he's worried about losing his car. Now he lives in Florida. Florida recently raised their exemptions to protect $5,000 equity in a car. Normally that only applies when you're in bankruptcy, but he may have an equity, maybe 15,000 or maybe even 20,000. If someone sued him, are they going to take his car? Um, as a practical matter, no, they're not going to do that. Now, why do I know that? Well, I've been running helps now for the last 13 years or whatever, 12, 13 years. Been an attorney for 46 years. It's not the practice of consumer judgment creditors, if they get a judgment, to try to take property you have that isn't exempt. Okay. So if you have equity in a car more than the state exemption that you're allowed to have, maybe you had the state exemption was $2,500 on a car and you had a $10,000 free and clear car. And if they got a judgment, are they going to take your car? No. Now, could they? There is a complex procedure for them to do it, but I've only seen it done in over 4 decades, maybe 2 or 3 times, and 2 times in the same little town. So they just don't do it. Okay. And if they were to try to do it, it could be stopped. So, I don't want people to worry about something that, as a practical matter, they don't need to worry about. So, no, they're not going to take your car. That's what we're going to tell them. Yeah, if you have any questions on any of this stuff, you be sure and call us toll free, 855-435-7787. Now, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. The more people that subscribe to our channel, the more it gets out on the internet, more people find out about this. So we talk to people every day that have just found out about helps, and they're very thankful they found out about us. So we always ask our clients, as appropriate, to share what helps does with others. But let them know what we do and how we do it, because like I started today, there's just a lack of information about this stuff out on the internet. There's lots of articles that talk about seniors with debt. They talk about, debt management, debt settlement. They'll talk about bankruptcy. They'll talk about, I looked at an article this morning by, I think it's called Upsolve, and they do bankruptcy for people. And it was an article for seniors. And they talked about bankruptcy. They talked about debt settlement. They talked about debt management. But the attorney that wrote the article never said one word, not one word, on the article about, hey, by the way, you senior, your income is protected. No one can take it. And there's a federal law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act that can prevent creditors from bothering you. Okay. And that's typical. It's almost like there's a concerted effort by different companies that help seniors with debt not to let them know that their income is protected. And I get upset about that. Why? So, we need to sign in internet here real quick. Just a minute here. Okay, here we go. And we'll see if I got it right this time. Get my glasses on here. Put your questions on the chat feature there, and I'll try to address your question here. I'm looking for. Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh. almost got it here. There we go. Sorry about that. When I use my laptop, sometimes it signs me off to have to sign it back in here. Let me see if I got some questions here I can address right now. Uh, so Tradie Bird says, I know you say not to worry, but someone tried to serve me legal papers last night. I didn't open the door. They left a card on the door. Does that count as being served? My anxiety is sky high. No, they have to actually give you the paperwork. But you don't need to have anxiety and you don't need to hide from them. You can accept the paperwork. And if you're a member of Helps, you just get us a copy of it. We just need the first 2 or 3 pages, Tweety Bird. You don't need to worry about it. And then we're going to call you, tell you why you don't need to worry. We're going to send you an email, explain why your income is protected, why you're not going to need to go to court. Okay? The guy that served you, it could either be a sheriff's deputy that's a civil deputy, and that's all he does is serve papers, or it could be a private party. Okay? And he gets paid when he serves you. So don't be scared. Don't be embarrassed. You don't need to worry. Katrina says it's easy for someone to say you have nothing to worry about, even though some of us do. Well, do you want me to? I don't think you want me to tell you that you have something to worry about when you don't. And hopefully, when you look at this old face and you realize I've been doing this for this long and know this stuff, when I tell you not to worry, that it's going to get through. Now, I may need to say it a few times, and I also want to explain the law and why you don't need to worry. Okay? So, and I know it's natural to worry. I understand that. In fact, that is the exact reason why Helps was founded. Okay. I was younger when I started Helps. I was doing tons of bankruptcies, helping people. But a lot of seniors would come in and I'd tell them, hey, you don't need to file bankruptcy. And they couldn't afford to file bankruptcy. But I knew when they went home, the creditors were going to call them and harass them. And so Helps was founded so that we could represent seniors that couldn't afford bankruptcy and didn't need to file bankruptcy and didn't want to file bankruptcy for a lot of other different reasons. So they wouldn't have to deal with debt collectors. And I specifically started Helps so that I could be able to tell seniors they don't need to worry. Okay. That's why I did it. Okay. And unfortunately, there are some people that give advice to seniors that cause them to worry. They either withhold information and don't tell them their income is protected, or they tell them that this thing or that thing could possibly happen when the odds of it happen are about as same as you having to worry about the Martians coming for dinner on Saturday night. So no. And that's why a lot of you listen to me on this channel over and over again, because you want to hear me say you don't need to worry. But if you do, you can call us and we'll give you the reasons why you don't need to worry. We've got lots of videos on different topics. We probably got 400 or 500 emails on addressing problems that seniors have on different topics. So Ms. H says, when you say that creditors usually don't know where someone banks at Social Security or pension, but if they had a credit union account and had a little money out there and no security, are they still protected? Yeah. So the law that was passed in 2012, it was a rule, that, and it instructs banks that if they get a writ of garnishment, they're to examine what money was deposited into your bank account. And if it came from a federal source, such as Social Security, VA pension, federal pension, VA benefit, that's a federal benefit, they're to times that times 2, the amount you get each month times 2, and automatically protect that from garnishment. The bank does it themselves without you doing anything. Okay. Now, if you had another account into which you put money and and it wasn't automatically deposited, that could be vulnerable to garnishment. But if it came from a protected source, you could file a challenge to garnishment or claim of exemption to have that money, and the judge would order that money be released. Okay, that's why we tell our clients, if you're sued, you probably want to just have one bank account, and that's the account to which your Social Security or your federal benefit is deposited. And if you keep it less than twice the amount, then in the event they were to happen to garnish you, which is probably unlikely in the first place, but if they were, then your bank will protect that without you not having to do anything. Okay. So Trevor says the card said to call the number, legal papers could be delivered. Failure to do so could result in further damages. Well, that's a bunch of baloney. There are no further damages. I mean, if there's further damages, it's damages to the process server because he won't get paid for serving you the papers. There'll be no damages to you. I like what Jimmy said. Okay. The sheriff who comes here is actually very kind, just hates being sued. I just hate being sued. It bothers me. I don't blame you. That's why, you know, I think when people enroll in helps, we send a letter to the debt collector or creditor you owe money to, it makes it less likely they would choose to sue you. Okay? Because if they know your income's protected, what good does it do them to do that? Um, yeah, so Anita says, a friend says she sent a cease and desist letter to the debt collector herself, and they kept calling, but as soon as she got a lawyer, they stopped. Why is that? Well, you can send a cease and desist letter yourself. We have a form on our file on our website. I think maybe a debt collector, maybe an aggressive one, if they got it directly from the debtor, they might think, well, this debtor sent us this letter, but they don't know how to enforce their rights, and they might not give it as much credence as if they got a cease and desist letter from an attorney. They can be sued for violating the law if they contact you after that. Okay. Richard says, I have a Discover and Capital One cards, couldn't cut the payment on Discover. So since Capital One bought Discover, I'm now being sued directly by Capital One. Yeah, but you don't need to worry about it, Richard. Peter says, I've asked for a little help with meds for my anxiety since it's been really bad lately, but no luck. Okay. Well, I hope helps can help solve some anxiety for seniors out there. I've heard that enough. If you talk to us enough or listen to us enough and you realize that you're going to be okay, that they can't really do anything to you, you shouldn't have anxiety about these things. I tell people, but some of us are prone to worry. I know that, talking with thousands upon thousands of people. Some people are naturally born worrywarts. So I tell people that worry about this stuff, don't worry about it. You can worry about something else, but don't worry about this. Now, I don't want you to really worry about something else, but I can tell you one thing, you don't need to worry about this kind of stuff. And if you ever do worry, you pick up the phone and you call us. Okay? Okay. How would a creditor find out where a person is banking or have a credit union? Is there something on a credit report they check or a system they can check to find that information? No, there isn't. If you banked at a bank for a long time, they might know because they could check their records and know that where you bank. But once again, it doesn't matter. If you'd have to be sued, then they have to know where you bank, and then if you file a writ of garnishment on that particular bank, your income's protected. So there's probably nothing to worry about in the end. Sometimes I'll tell people, what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, there really is no worst thing that's going to happen with help. I guess the worst thing is that you could get sued, but they can't take anything from you, so you're not going to lose any of your money. Should you put the lawyer's name in the cease and desist letter? Well, what we do is, when you enroll in HELPS, you give us the creditors you owe money to and the debt collectors, and we're going to send a letter out on our stationery from HELPS itself. You don't need to send that letter out. We send it out for you. We represent you. So, when you enroll in HELPS and you get us the collectors you don't want to hear from, we need the name, address, and account number. And our goal is within 24 to 48 hours to send a cease and desist letter out to that debt collector. And you're going to get a copy of it. Okay. And it might take them, 2 to 4 weeks to process the letter and stop the contact. In the interim, if they were to call you, you would tell them you're represented by HELPS, give them our name and number, and hang up the phone. But the nice thing about HELPS is you can enroll immediately over the phone. When you decide to enroll, when we hang up, you're our client. You're on our system as being a client. Our system is being our client. So if a creditor were to call you after you enroll in HELPS, a minute later, you tell them I'm represented by HELPS, give them our name and number. And then if they call us, you're going to be in our system as being our client, even though you haven't paid us any money yet, even though I haven't been paid. So we enroll everyone up. We don't require any money upfront to enroll anyone. Okay? We don't do that. And the payment usually won't begin until 30 or 60 days in the future. We make it work for people. If they took my birthday, which they have to file the suit and figure out my age, shouldn't they assume my only income is Social Security? Why continue? Well, because debt collectors and creditors that sue people, they're under no obligation to tell you what your rights are. And they count on you not understanding your rights and being scared and calling them in to make arrangements to make payment. Because the vast majority of seniors don't understand the things that we're talking about. And once again, they're not given that information on the internet. The topic for today, there's articles. National Council on Aging, they have a lot of videos, but on those videos or articles, articles. None of the articles would tell a senior, by the way, your income is protected. You don't need to pay the debt. Instead, they steer people toward debt management. And yet their mission is to protect seniors, especially those that are financially vulnerable. I don't understand it. Okay. So Tuan says, I filed for bankruptcy. Creditors are still contacting me because the lawyer is not yet set out. Cease and desist. Well, actually, when you file bankruptcy, the creditors get a notice from the bankruptcy court that you filed. It's not up to the attorney to send out. It's sent out from the court. It's part of the fee that you paid to file the bankruptcy. Okay? So our phone number is 855-435-7787. You can always call us with questions. Trying to get where I left off at here. And I may just pick a random place. Because a lot of these calls are kind of important. Here we go. Okay. There we go. Go so slowly. Please give us some way to protect ourselves when the creditor forgives the debt and files a 1099-C so we have to pay the taxes on the debt. Thank you. Okay. I talk about this a lot. You may hear, oh, if you don't pay this debt, you're going to have to pay taxes on it. Not so. Not so. There are exceptions, but it won't apply to anyone listening to me. If your only income is Social Security, okay, what is a 1099-C? If you don't pay a debt, it's over $600. Technically, a creditor is required to send the IRS a form called a 1099-C saying that you didn't pay this debt, and it shows since you didn't pay it, it should be attributed to you as income upon which you pay taxes. But if you're only getting Social Security and maybe a little bit of pension, a little bit above that, you're not required to file taxes. You don't need to worry about it. IRS does not follow up with people on 1099-Cs. Their computer system lets them know that your income is minimal, and if you did owe any taxes, you could get on currently not collectible status and wouldn't have to pay the tax. So then I don't see IRS ever following up on 1099-C with our clients. Now, if you make a lot of money and you have a lot of debt, you have a lot of income, that might be a different story. It's not any of our clients. Won't happen here. So don't worry about, if you don't pay your debt and you get a 1099-C notice, you're not going to need to worry about the IRS and having to pay taxes. Okay? So this person asked, if a senior has a 401k, is it in jeopardy of garnishment by a collection agency? No, it's protected it's protected. No one can take it. Okay. Person contacts us from Arizona. Income is $1,300 Social Security, and they get a couple thousand in VA benefits and a little pension. Well, they get a pension, and they're paying $1,900 in rent. They say, I have around $22,000 in credit card debt and personal loans, including tribal loans. I have pending student loan payments, which I understand I have to pay. I'm 72 years old and only pension income, and with only the Social Security and pension income. All of this gets directed deposited into my bank account. Are these three pensions judgment proof in Arizona? Yes. Doesn't matter what state they are. Okay? Your pensions are protected. Depending on your answer, I may be interested in your program. So we've probably talked to this guy. So here's my answer. Your Air Force pension and your Social Security pension is protected. So is the City of Phoenix pension. It's protected. You don't need to pay the $22,000 in credit card debt. You don't need to worry about the tribal loan. They can't really do anything to you. I mean, you could get sued, but they can't take anything from you. It's that simple. Now, if you got, let's say you got $1,500 Social Security and $1,500 in Air Force pension, that's $3,000. Those are federal benefits. Twice that amount, $6,000. Twice the amount you get each month is protected automatically. Okay? Okay, here's another one. And I said earlier that I need to stop here pretty soon. So if you get a question, you get it in quick. This person contacts us. They're from Colorado, 73. They have a reverse mortgage and they have over $12,000 in debt. Their only income is $1,500 in Social Security. With inflation, increased costs for food, property taxes, insurance, and more, we cannot pay all of our bills. We're in default on a couple and we simply have no cash left. our savings are used up and all our other resources are gone. So we called this person back and explained how their income is protected. Now they didn't need to worry. Okay. So you're talking about tribal loans. Maybe you're talking about payday loans issued by an Indian on an Indian reservation. Some payday loan companies pay an Indian reservation money so they can set up in the reservation as their headquarters. And why do they do that? Well, because some federal laws don't apply on Indian reservations, and one of them is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So if you get a payday loan on an Indian reservation, maybe they call it a tribal loan, it's not really coming from the tribe, it's coming from someone else. They can break the law trying to collect from you, which means they can threaten you with things that they can't do. They might say you're going to go to jail and scare the bejeebies out of you. They can't. That's what they do because they can't be sued. Okay, can't be sued. So don't worry about that. Okay. So this couple called us. Actually, the children called. I think the dad is 91 and the mom is 73. They have 80,000 in debt. Their income is only $1,500 a month. They get food stamps. Home is only in the wife's name and own it outright with a home equity line of credit. They have a car that's free and clear. We went over this, answered their questions, and they decided to enroll in HELPS. Now, we'll talk to parents anytime, with the kids if they want, or we'll talk to kids if someone's helping mom or dad, we'll do that. So this other couple calls us, husband is 80 and the wife is 76. They have 31,000 in debt, but what they have that they're really worried about is they have an RV they can't afford to use anymore. Okay. Their only income is the husband gets Social Security and a pension, and the wife gets Social Security, and they can't afford the RV. So what we're going to tell them is, if you have an RV you can't afford, or a car for that matter, you can simply stop making the payment, let it go back. Now, how do you do that? Well, if you stop making the payment, they're going to call you, and then if you don't use it anymore, and if it's parked, when they call you about the missed payment, then you can tell them then that you don't want the car or the RV. And if you try to call them while you're current on the payment, you're going to get frustrated. You have to be behind, because the person who calls you when you're behind, they'll know what to do to tell you how they're going to pick up that. And then they're going to sell it. They're going to sell it for less than what you owe. And then they're going to send you a letter called a deficiency notice. And then if you're a member of HELPS, when you get that letter, you're going to get that to us. And we're going to send a cease and desist letter out to the lender. They're going to leave you alone. Now, they might sell it for more than what you owe, and they might have money that they're going to send back to you. Now, that doesn't happen very often. It happened once about a year ago. But I actually saw an email today, and I actually called the person back. They didn't answer, but I left a message for them to call and specifically with me, because the husband had passed away. And in the process of passing away, the car went back. They owed money on the car. But the lender, Chase Bank, actually sold the car for more than what was owed on the car. And they had a check for her for $8,000. And she wrote to us and said, I don't know what to do. They say I have to give them proof that I have authority to get this money. And she was lost about what to do. Well, when she calls us, I'm going to tell her what to do. In the state where she lives, if she is the only, and if the husband didn't have a will, and I doubt he did, then if she's the wife and there's no kids, or the kids are raised, no minor children, then all that money belongs to her. But she's going to have to give proof to the Chase, otherwise they're not going to cut her a check. So she may have to file some type of probate proceeding. A lot of states have what's called a small estate proceeding, where you can file for probate if there's under a certain amount of money. And this definitely would qualify for her to do that. Might cost her a couple $100, and it's a do-it-yourself type thing. I'm going to be able to tell her exactly what to do, okay? And you don't need an attorney to do that. You can do it on her own. I'm just going to give her the information she needs so she can do that on her own. See, that's one thing HELPS does, is not only do we protect seniors from debt collector harassment, we educate seniors on how they can maintain their financial independence. And I would certainly want this recently widowed person to be able to get this $8,000 that Chase is holding for her. Chase isn't just going to cut her a check. They're going to want some legal authority that shows them that she's entitled to get that check. So she can open up a small estate proceeding, show that to Chase. They're going to give her the money, and then she'll be able to use that money for herself. So that's what we do here. Let me check and see if we got any more questions. Eastlake asks, my husband and I both get Social Security direct deposited. The account is only in my husband's name. Would both Social Securities be protected at double if my name isn't on the account? Yes, absolutely. Okay. It doesn't matter whose name is on the account, or whose name isn't on the account. All the bank has to do is look at what money went into the bank. If it came from a federal source, all they care about is adding up those sums times 2 and protect it. Even if only one person's on the account or 1,000 people are on the account, they're going to protect that money. So nothing to worry about. Okay. So I told you at the beginning that I would need to end early today. I'm going to do that. I want to thank you for participating. If you have a question that we haven't covered, 855-435-7787. We want to talk to you. We want to be able to help you. Please press the like button, subscribe to our channel. That helps get the word out. But I want you to have a good day, a good weekend. And there's another question that came in last second. Jenny asked, should I stop payment on a creditor and then you send them a letter? Yeah, if they're taking money out automatically, we're going to tell you to stop the payment automatically. If it's a credit card, you can do that online or by calling them on the phone. You could also contact, if it's not that, if it's someone that's more difficult to work with, you can contact your bank and do a stop payment on that debt. And you can call us. We have an email that explains exactly how to do that, Janie. But you can call, if it's a creditor like a credit card company, you can just get online and stop the automatic payment. Okay? Or you can pull the money out of there so there's nothing in there when they go to take it. They wouldn't get anything. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. So have a great day, and I will talk to everyone on Monday. God bless. Bye.